Hello and welcome to my allotment. My name's Richard from the Veg Grower Podcast, and today we are tackling a few tasks down on the allotment, starting off with this bed right here. Well, it's a nice warm day today here on the allotment, which makes a change for this year, and what I've decided to do today was actually get rid or harvest my overwintered onions, which, if I'm honest, they haven't done very well this year, like so many things. But this has left me with a decision to make of what to do with this bed. Now, on that half, I've still got some cardboard over and a couple of courgette plants that have been decimated by slugs and snails. And that's a running theme with squash plants this year. I've struggled to even buy any replacements because the slugs and everything has just gone against them this year, I think. They are holding on, so I've left them in there for the time being and we will see what happens. But this other half, I'm going to be doing a few other things in here. So the first thing that I thought I'd plant in here is this crown pince pumpkin. And I did debate about just leaving this bed empty. What I did with the garlic bed is I've got a couple of squash plants, a vegetable spaghetti and a sizzler courgette plant in that bed, which I've surrounded completely with cardboard to suppress the weeds and just give me a little bit less to do and try and hopefully keep on top of the weeds for the time being. But I did think about doing the same with this bed, but I really want this pumpkin in, to be honest with you, and that's nearly about ready. And these beds are both going to be used for, there we go, nice. These beds are both going to be used for growing overwintered broad beans and peas later on in the year. So whatever goes in here needs to be out in a couple of months' time, ideally. I mean, pumpkin might be a little bit longer, but we can work with it. It's okay. I'm not too fussed about that. Now, I've popped this crown prince pumpkin on a bit of a mound here just because it makes life a little bit easier to water. And what we're going to try and do is just trail the pumpkin around to use up as much space as possible. But we do have something else I want to plant in the area that is still available. And so what I want to plant in the spare area is some of these dwarf French beans. This is a variety called Burgold. And beans are another one, much like the squash plants, that just have really been decimated by slugs and snails. Luckily, these dwarf French beans can still be sown throughout July, so we could hopefully still get some of these. Fingers crossed, of course. It's a difficult year this year, to say the least, but I think the more we persevere, the more chance we have. I've been quite lucky in the past. I get very few problems with pests. I hate the word pests, to be honest. I get very few problems with nature, so this year has certainly been one of the most challenging for slugs and snails. There's still chance, of course, that we can beat them. Now, being a dwarf ones, these are quite quick to grow and they should hopefully give us some decent harvests in time this year. Well, it's got enough seeds sown now, so to try and protect these plants from slugs and snails, I am putting down some of this You Stop Slugs wool-based stuff. I've been trialling this at home from Andermatt and it's pretty damn good. So I'm just sprinkle this around and then we're going to give it a good watering. Now, one particular crop that has been very successful this year has been our brassicas, our cabbages especially. I harvested our first cabbage last week. That feels nice and firm, so that one, our second one so far, is ready. All I do is take a knife and just cut that off We leave that in the ground, the roots and everything, because that might create some more cabbages, but I'm happy with that. Not the biggest, it is a summer cabbage, but that'll do us well. We've got more brassicas to harvest as well. In fact, the other day I harvested our first cauliflower too. But it's something else. Now, if I just pull away these leaves, you can see we've got a broccoli that's also ready. So again, I'm just cutting that off. Very, very happy with that. That'll do us quite well for our meal. Just me and the wife, remember, so we haven't got a huge amount to feed, so I'm happy with that. On top of the cauliflower we harvested earlier this week and the cabbages we've harvested, we're doing all right. But at the front of this bed I've got an area that is also a little bit empty, so what I'm going to sow in here are some of these turnips, a variety called Snowball. I've got to admit, I'm not a lover of turnips. I'm just going to move some of these stones out the way. I find them a little bit bland, if I'm honest with you, but they are a crop, and this year I kind of feel we need to grow everything we possibly can. Now what I'm going to do to sow these, I'm not going to do anything complicated. I'm just simply whole pack of seeds, that's the seeds there, they're pretty small. I'm just going to broadcast sow them along here, around here. Let's check there's no more. And then I'm just going to use my hands to rough them up a little. Try and remove some of these stones and weeds at the same time. The soil, although the top looks dry, once you just sort of scratch the surface, it's quite damp. So we will give this a watering in just a moment, but it's another crop that we've got sown. I think the final thing we need to do is harvest some more potatoes. Well, there is an element that these potatoes are coming to the end of their harvest. These are, well actually we're getting into our second early potatoes now. Going down really well at home and they're nice and delicious. And these are actually a pretty decent size, so I'm quite happy with them. Oh, look at that. Good thing is I've been growing potatoes in these beds as a way of also controlling the couch grass. I find that potatoes are really good for suppressing couch grass because the mulching, the growing habits, and as we're harvesting these potatoes out the beds, we tend to remove any weeds and especially the couch grass roots as we go. So yeah, I mean that's kind of the main reason I'm sort of growing potatoes now. Well, that brings us to the end of this video. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope you found it useful. If you have, please leave a comment below. Don't forget to like, don't forget to subscribe, and all the usual stuff that we are meant to do. Check out the podcast as well, and I look forward to seeing you on a live stream that we do every Sunday at 6 p.m. Until next time, please take care.